Welcome to the JAMODI podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it. You mentioned a little bit about your favorite style to teach, and it sounds similar to the way I love it. So I can't wait to hear more when you were coaching. And I guess too, like if a coach was to come to you and say, "Hey, I'm a clean blank, I'm a blank slate.
Yeah.
How should I build it? What style of play?"
Yeah.
What do you say?
I would say, um, that what I try to do when I advise coaches is, one, I avoid the word should, like you should
Yeah.
do this. I think that sounds sort of preachy and comes from a place of like, I'm smarter than you or know more than you, which I don't like. I'm not comfortable with that. So what this is another little nugget that I stole. You asked, that was your terrific first question, is anytime you want to say you should, turn it into a prediction. Turn that into prediction. So instead of saying you guys should shoot more threes, say, I predict your offensive efficiency would increase if you shot more threes. So now we can test that, right? Instead of it coming across as like, I know you don't.
I like that, even talking to players.
Yes.
I mean, I think I say
a great coaching point.
I think I say should. Like you should really do that. Yeah.
Now change it to a prediction. Say, you should, whatever, go to your left hand more or whatever, like whatever the case.
I predict if you load up when you come off the ball screen, you'll have more time to make a read, to see space. That's good.
Or I predict if you load up before coming off the screen, your shooting percentage will go up. Now we can test that, right?
Yeah.
True or not?
Yeah.
So now the player has incentive to see if you're right.
Yeah. Sorry, go back to when I cut you off.
So what I would say is, I don't really come to a coach and say you should play this way. I tell them how I did and why. But like I said before, I've helped coaches who do a lot of different stuff. So some that play slow, some that play fast, some that play in between, and that's fine. But if they ask me what I have the most knowledge and experience with, that's where I'm more comfortable speaking. And I think it's been because of that, it's where I can sound the most informed. And, so that the style of play for me was aggressive man-to-man defense and transition offense. And sort of this idea that I think, I won't say I pioneered it, but I definitely talk about it. And now I see it talked about in other places. Whether I have any role in that or not, I don't know nor care. But this idea of sort of seamlessness, where when we transition, sort of the end of that transition looks like our half-court offense. So we don't have this moment of rearrangement. We don't have this moment of setting it up. We sort of transition with some constraints where we arrive in the half court that if we don't have a fast break opportunity, if we don't beat them down the floor, we can connect with our offensive shape without, we just look up and, okay, this is our offense, and we don't stop and we don't have to reorganize. So it's that seamless quality that I feel over the years that I've helped coaches either copy or create or that I think would be my preferred style of coaching. And I tried to take it, turn that dial to 11, and like even our baseline and sideline out of bounds sort of connected to our offense. Transition connected to our offense. The way we lined up in a defensive free throw. So even like when the other team's shooting, the where I put our players in that moment spoke to how we're going to inbound the ball and who's going to do it, who's going to receive the outlet, who's going to fly right, who's going to fly left. Like we did all that thinking because we want no stoppage and seamless connections between phases.
I wonder how often coaches, because I'm guilty of it, don't pay attention to those transition points, those moments where we can steal a few seconds back, for we can be a little bit more organized where in moments where like transition defense is typically disorganized, but we need to be organized quickly in it. You know, kind of that opposite effect there. I think that's a great point especially those out of bounds is taking time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what I didn't want is, okay, here's our inbounds play, baseline out of bounds, and here's option one. We don't get it. Okay, option two, we get the ball inbounded to that player, but it doesn't work like YouTube quality, meaning boom, boom, we score off the inbounds play. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. We got it in, but
you're in
weren't
bad
open.
spots. You're in bad
and then
spots.
Now we've got to reorg. Exactly. Now we've got to set it up.
Yep.
So it's sort of like reverse engineering. Like I wanted that moment to where if we got it in but didn't get a shot, the player looks and like, oh, we're 4 out, boom, or oh, we look like low post set or something like that. So it's like taking the design constraint of a shape and working backwards.
Yeah.
And that, because the best teams that I played personally, when you're trying to get organized and like you're trying to plug into your coach and see what they want, but the ball's in play, that's a very vulnerable time. And they sense that, and it's like blood in the water. And as a person who taught a pressure style defense, I'm not letting you do that. Like, that's not happening. You had better thought about your design beforehand, because that's not happening.
To me, there's a big shift though too. In order to play the way that you're talking about, you have to value the continuity that you have almost more than the sets that you have. Because if you can't read or score routinely from that, whatever you're going to flow into out of your out of bounds, like you inbound, you're in the correct spots for your 4 out 1 in. Like if you're not getting a lot of buckets from that, the tendency is to back out, run the set that we know we'll get a certain shot from. So I think right there, you almost like you're deciding a little bit of joysticking and running a lot of plays versus setting up concepts that allow them to make plays, but you have to see it work in order for it to validate why you should continue to do it.
And also too, I always question players who, when we were trying to make this transformation and it was a little growing pains, would be like, look, when we're trying to organize, let's say we successfully do that, like we backed it out and we're able to like get it. What did the defense also get to do? Oh, they were guarding her. Now I can get back to who I'm supposed to. And like, they got to organize. So what the motive, the overarching why as to do it was to keep the pressure on the defense to they don't get a moment to set themselves up and get their, they're having to keep defending rather than getting to organize themselves. It's like, I call it friendly offense. Like I see a lot of coaches who like, you guys are awfully friendly to the defense because you got dudes who could run 240s and you're just like letting the defense like just kind of like, okay, like that is awful nice of you. Like,
I love that
defensive rebound, the outlet, and like you, coach, you say, whoa, run it. You just help the defense.
Stop being so friendly on offense. I think that's great.
That's really nice of you to and I say that could apply to other things. You're awful nice of you to turn down a wide open 3. We didn't X out. We didn't close you out. We didn't get the second or third closeout, and your guy just dribbled it or put it over his head. Like, thanks. Because now we can get back and get organized and get to neutral with you. Like, don't be so friendly.
We talked about this a little bit, but so with that style of play or any style that a coach chooses, how do they take players that they have and maybe, all right, if you have some great athletes, they're long, they can run, like it makes sense to play fast and up tempo. But what if there is maybe it doesn't appear that it would fit? How do you kind of take the style that you love and are comfortable with or confident in, and the players, how do you bring them together?
Well, you ask a great question that I've been asked dozens of times. And this is just my own personal belief, but I believe that you don't have to be fast to play fast. Speed, is not necessarily the sort of like secret ingredient of playing fast. To me, it's skill.
Mm.
Can we pass and catch, like make long passes accurately? Can we handle the ball? And like, if we want to attack, we're in transition and they're taking away our pitch aheads by sort of like getting defensive width and can I handle the ball, crossover and penetrate and crack the shell with my ball handler? Like, so it's really skill that's the main driver for playing fast. So while while outside your circle and control might be things like speed, height, athleticism as a coach, inside your circle of control is the skill level of your players to a certain degree, assuming you have time,
sure,
and help and all of the things you need to do to sort of develop skill inside your program. So I would challenge. So my follow-up question to the coach is like, okay, I understand that you don't have track stars. I get that. But can your guys play? Can they, guys, would you say your guys can dribble, pass, and shoot kind of okay? Like they're fundamentally sound. And if the answer to that is yes, you too can play fast, because that's actually the real quality. Like
I don't think
like
I've ever heard it
BYU
said
plays
like
fast.
that.
Like
Yeah,
BYU plays fast. Like
yeah,
like that's the actual component.
you're right.
So if
It's
what you're
not
telling
track.
me,
Yeah,
if
it's
what
not
you're
track.
telling me is we lack athleticism and skill, I would say,
Good luck.
yeah. Like, what do you want me to
What
tell you?
style? Like, all
What
right,
do you want me to
so
tell you? Yeah,
you're going to try to play in the 20s then. That's
you're
the
not ready
goal.
to win yet. It's an uncomfortable truth,
Well,
but you're not ready to win yet, and that's okay. Now let's
and
develop a plan that maybe is a multi-year plan.
that's it. And that's where those early on years of maybe you get your teeth kicked in, you get your butt kicked, but you're continuing to build the vision, train them for maybe future success. Because sometimes, I mean, players don't know where they're going to be in the year. And even though we don't know for sure, doing it for a little while and believing in our system, I think we can start, like you said, we can start to predict if we continue to make the steps and strides and get 1% better. Guys, this is where we will be. I think early on you are talking a little bit of it's that vision and a little bit of this is what the future will look like, and then training so that you can't skip steps, training so that one day those click moments happen.
Yeah. And it's sort of like this sort of tug of war that coaches feel they can sort of, maybe if they do have an inferior team, can sort of like X and O their way to great heights. And if they just keep asking another guy, if they just watch one more YouTube video, if they just buy another new playbook, there's something out there that will help me X and O my bad team to good. And I just don't believe that to be true. So what I would say would be, if you're, let's just go about the business of building an identity and try to divorce ourselves from the results this year. Hard to do.
Yeah,
Granted.
I was at TAB. Yeah, I was at the UIL state tournament years ago, hanging out with Tom Inman, and I asked us because he had recently they had won a state championship at Plano Senior High, and I said, "Coach, man, how'd you do that?" He's like, "How'd you win state?" As a young coach wanting to one day do that, and he said, "Matt, we're jockeys. The best horses win." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "I had the best horses that year." There's a lot of truth to that because if you have inferior horses, I think a great jockey can make inferior horses better, can make them a little bit faster, no doubt. But then there is an idea of, I mean, within your team, do you possess like you said, can you X and O these horses to the point where they beat Duncanville High School? I don't know.
The times that I've seen it done by teams that I would say, if we compared athlete to athlete, they would not measure up. Oftentimes when I've seen that done, it's been by a team with great institutional knowledge of what they do, which can offset some of that athleticism, meaning we execute so well, avoiding the things that cause losing, turnovers, bad shots, all those things. And we know our programs so well. We've been doing it since the 7th grade or whatever, like that we can offset that by sort of the institutional knowledge of the way we play. And that's sort of what I try to help coaches get to. Like, what are we going to be like the night the school board approves you, the next day the superintendent hands you your keys, that job begins that day. What are we going to do here? And for some coaches, that sort of begins with, I don't know, let me see what my 5 or 6 returning lettermen look like. And that's fine. That's totally fine. For others, it's like it's already in their head. And it's just a matter of putting in that infrastructure to build it.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.